heavy snow. We had that stuff falling off the roof all night, and it's difficult to sleep. And then I had a late night phone call and an early morning one, talking to some AI guys early this morning. They're starting to get it. They've taken some of my suggestions and applied them. It doesn't involve changing code. I won't go into the details, but it has to do with how to appropriately weight indices in the process of training your AI. Anyway, so they're having some success, so they're very much encouraged, and so we've taken it to the next step. And I didn't realize how difficult it would be to get the concept across, but so it took a number of hours. But they've got it now, and so they're on to phase 2 there. A couple of other things here real quick. I'm in the process of crafting and finishing a novel, and I should have it out in a couple of months. I'll put it on Amazon, and I've got my own plans for it from that point forward. But it is it's somewhat unique novel because I'm writing it now, set in 2030, and it's going to throughout the book it's going to have scattered bits of information about what will be occurring at that time. So in that sense, it's it's a different kind of an approach. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today was this thing that I had labeled in 2002. I had labeled this time we're in now as Secrets Revealed. And Secrets Revealed is quite obvious. I mean, USAID and all of this other stuff, right? The UN, all of the horrors of what's been done to us by our own money, and, Bill Gates and Clinton and all these ditties and all of this kind of shit, right? Secrets Revealed. Secrets Revealed in the data is a big deal, okay? Giant. It went on for years. I kept getting that from 2002 until today. I mean, you still get the Secrets Revealed sets being populated. And they had a huge growth and became just giant, dominating set, okay? There's 2 others in there that are almost as dominating, but this really has Secrets Revealed really has the edge on everything else. This period was described as going on for an intense period of about 10 years. Within that 10 years, the first 2 years would be the most huge dump, and within the first 2 years, the first 6 months of this is going to be the biggest dump of data, the biggest shock. Okay, let's just put it that way, the biggest shock value will be within the first 6 months of this Secrets Revealed, but that shock value will not wane much, but it will come down a little bit as people become acclimatized to the idea of all of this stuff that's been hidden from them. And then that'll continue for another 18 months or more, and then it'll take another step down in terms of shock value, and it'll go on for another decade, that kind of a deal, right? And then 100 years from now, academicians will come on in and be rooting around in all of the history from this time to get out details that will have not yet been revealed because it's so deep and so complex. And so you'll get those minds, years from now that want to write a book about, basically who was fucking who with whose money. And so that's all coming out. Bear in mind now, this is incredible, guys. It's not yet been a month, and look what's occurred, right? So everything's changed, everything's crumbling. This is the way that change happens. It happens suddenly, rapidly, and irrevocably. So we can't go back, right? Nobody's going back to the way that the Democrats used to run things, that sort of thing. Democrats are going to be scurrying off, hiding, and getting arrested, and all of this sort of shit. And it's all going to blow up. Now, here are some things to bear in mind for your immediate future. So I have a bulge in the data for February 26th onward. We're on a steeply inclined hill, as you might know, all the emotional tension that's coming out, all this building tension. We're getting daily releases, but the overall trend is still upward in this hill. We're climbing a fairly steep hill. If we were to imagine it, it is a hill that is steep enough that you're going to feel it in your thighs in the first couple of minutes, and by the time you're halfway up the hill, or even a quarter of the way up the hill, your lungs are going to be laboring because of the steep altitude you're climbing, and your feet will be at an angle that you'll notice relative to the where your legs are. In terms of, the angle of the foot when it's hitting the ground. So this steep thing goes on for a while. We hit a bump in that, another rise in that on the 26th of this month, so 20 days from now. And that appeared to be financial. So everything in February appeared to be financial, as we were talking about in October and last September and last June, that sort of thing. Everything in the February period was hinging on something financial. We didn't know if it was going to be a crash or what, right? Now we know, all right, it's USAID and UN and all of the fuckery going on in the government to kill the population, to kill the humans and enslave them. Okay, so on the 26th is the beginning of this bump. That bump in and of itself would be like a road bump, or is another small hill you would have to climb over. This thing is so steep that if you were to imagine it on your hillside, you'd have to get down on your hands and knees to go up over this bump. It's just that steep of an angle. You wouldn't be able to do it walking up and upright. And then after we get over that, which it lasts maybe a month, okay, so it fades off a little bit, the emotions drop down some, and maybe we're talking about mid-March or a little bit later. And then we go off on that same angle that we're on before we hit this bump, continuing on up into June, all right? And that's really about as far as I trust the projections. It looks like it continues further, but I don't have enough supporting data to make any real good conclusions about that. So we'll just say up until about mid-June. Anyway, so from February 26th on, we're going to get an interesting effect. The USAID money supplies, all the money supplies that they're shutting down now, will take a little tiny bit of time to ripple through the system, but not that long. They're drying up all of the funds that are going to the invaders, and they're going to the criminals that brought the invaders here, and they're going to the child predators, the traffickers, all of this kind of shit. So all of those people are going to be without money in a short period of time. Well, I think it'll probably start showing up around February 26th, and here's what's going to happen. We're going to have a delayed effect that's going to hit these two disparate groups, slightly different on timing, but the effect is going to be the same. It's going to cause real panic, and it's going to cause action, okay? So you can imagine that the invaders are going to be, right now they're supported, they've got the credit cards, they can get money, they cause problems, they're idiots, they take orders, and they go cause other problems on orders, but they're causing problems on their own just because they're stupid. And they're stooges, right? And they're just wandering around without direction. All right, so as this goes forward here on the 26th, I'm expecting that these guys won't have their credit cards being refilled. And so they're debit cards. And so they'll start becoming desperate for money because they won't be able to buy anything that they are able to do so now. And that's going to affect their behavior. They're going to start trying to get money to survive. And then they're going to start finding out that the environment is wildly changed around them. Bear in mind, many of these people are not following the media as intently as you are, and many of them do not speak English. So they're not going to pick up on the nuance, even if they are. In any event, so my next expectation is that sometime after the 26th, we're going to start seeing these invaders become active, and it will be motivated by a growing sense of panic as they start feeling the walls close around them, because the people that they are dependent upon, all of the NGOs, all of the sycophants, all of the sociopaths, and ultimately all the psychopaths, will abandon them. They'll just drop communicating with them. There won't be any more orders issued, the bank cards won't be filled, et cetera, because these people now have their own problems as they've been identified as being the money conduit to all this illegal activity. And so they're going to start panicking, and they're going to try and do everything they can to distance themselves from this growing problem. And thus we're going to see action, in my opinion. We're going to see a much greater propensity towards action from irrational, stressed, and panicked individuals that will begin on or around the 26th. And I'm thinking now it will be because their funds will start really drying up by that time. It'll take a little bit of time for them to use up the money they've got, but once the spigot shuts down, they're basically on paycheck to paycheck as it is. They have no resources in this country, so it's going to be quite desperate for them. So I'm suggesting that, near the end of this month, everybody be very, very, very wary, especially if you're in crowds, because you're not going to be able to predict who's the panicky son of a bitch who's just going to lash out in an irrational action simply because of the pressures that are applied to them. Now, there's also going to extend over to Democrats and all of the the stooges that they employ. I'm expecting that around that time also, they won't have money coming on in, and all of a sudden their luxurious lifestyles will go away, and then there will be the threat that the greater social order is coming back at them to retrieve all of the money that they have stolen illegally, right? That was given to them illegally. And so this is going to cause them a great deal of panic as well. So basically, from the 26th of February onward, for at least another month, we're going to have a very active period of time with a lot of irrationality, especially in the form of like insane actions, because you won't be able to understand why these people are doing it. It'll look really bizarre and insane, and dangerous actions. So just everybody start, watching your six. Look behind you, see who's around you. Pay attention to yourself in crowds, and all of that sort of thing, because it's going to get really, really wonky, and a lot of these people will be extremely agitated and unpredictable. And so basically that's what we're coming into as part of the Secrets Revealed, which will go on for a long time, and ultimately and not even ultimately, this year will lead to the revelation of this zero-point technology being suppressed on a mass level, interaction with space aliens, all of this kind of shit. All that's coming out. I expect a lot of that to be dumped on us about in the June period of time, and I'm very anticipatory of that. Looking forward to it. So I'm trying to get my novel done so that I can, pay attention and get my popcorn ready for that period. But anyway, guys, stay safe. It's going to be a key period of time to make sure that you endeavor to survive 2025.